Tseng DV6-II. There you go. She's all ready to roll. Now, Tony sent this saber to me, and it had a Goth3D Master Chassis in it, and a Prism 5.1. And I removed the Prism 5.1. And also the crystals were all crooked, and they were touching each other, and this chassis wasn't painted. So these chassis, when they're, when they arrive from the 3D printer, a lot of times they're plastic. And I'm trying to get an example of one out here for you. This is kind of an example of what these 3D printed chassis look like when they arrive from Shapeways. They're plain plastic. Some of the parts you can get printed in metal. This is a chassis for upcoming Star Killer. So I've got 3 of those that are getting ready to get built. Phoenix Prop Star Killers. But I painted the chassis. I've added Neopixel accents here in the rear of the chassis, and also the crystals are illuminated. This is all Neopixel Proffie, and I've given access to the programming buttons for the Proffie there, and you do have access to the my finger hit the kill key again. You do have access to the programming port and the SD card there on the rear of the chassis, so you can access the Proffie. But I've painted the chassis. I've put Neopixel illumination on the crystal chamber, and the crystal chamber pulses when it's off, and this is running in a cycle at the rear of the chassis, and when you activate the saber, the cycle speeds up here, and also the crystals go solid red, and this will go solid red once it cycles up. And then when you clash the saber, or that goes in a lockup, you get lockup in the crystals. Blaster blocks are reflected in the crystals, as well as clashes. When you deactivate the saber, the crystals go back to a pulsing. Pulses between red and off. And the cycle slows down here. Also in this saber, same as the last DV6, we have shine through on this forward eye that used to be blade retention. Your blade retention is now accessed through an 832 set screw through this hole in the shroud. And also the same as on your other saber, I've given you a Neopixel blade plug for the DV6. And that's the internals. We'll get ready to go to the demonstration here in just a second. This is Tony Tseng's DV6. This is the second DV6 I built for him. And here we go. Ignition. Look at that. That's awesome. Now look, I know the tip of the saber isn't ignited. Tony's lightsaber blade is actually that many pixels long, where my lightsaber is, my blade is actually a little bit longer than Tony's. So it's actually programmed for the blade I've already built him. So I already know the tip's not totally illuminated. This is just a video of what it can do. Lock up, blaster blocks. This is of course Rogue One Vader. Most of y'all seen the demos on it. Rogue One Vader again, they just both have different music soundtracks.
The dark side.
Cross guard. The fire blade. There's the new fire blade, which is freaking awesome. Which is Thal Ree's fire blade. It has a spark tip, and Frederick's initial program blaster blocks thing is awesome.
I'm from the Resistance. Your sister Leia sent me. We need your help.
Broke flex, and you see the shine through on the glass eye. Force sounds, double click.
Luke Skywalker. This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight.
The bones.
Lightning blade, my lightning blade.
Teensy.
Rainbow blade. Cantina band, rainbow blade. Purple fire.
Luke Skywalker.
Green fire.
This is the weapon of a Jedi.
Blue fire. Red cycle.
Vibro.
Blue cycle, and then your battery blade. So as you can see, the battery needs to be charged. You can go to the next font. Darth Vader's Rogue One Vader. Tony, this is an awesome one. Let's ignite this puppy again. Look at that shine through. You got the shine through there. And the cool part about this saber is this one has Shtok Lit Neopixel Connectors. This saber is awesome. The operating instructions for this saber are as follows. When you first get it, the kill key will be in the off position, and the rear of the hilt will be on. And what you'll need to do is twist the kill key to turn the saber on. You'll hear a boot. To power the saber on, the forward button is your power. Clash the saber. Get clash. If you hold the rear button, which is your auxiliary button, down, you'll get lock up. A brief touch on the auxiliary button, the rear button, will give you blaster blocks. A double press of the power button gives you force sounds. Turn that off. To get the music track, when you go to ignite the saber, a long press of the power button initiates the music track. This is the hallway scene from Rogue One. To cycle to your next preset, briefly press the auxiliary button. Of course, I did put a fire blade on here too. There's your fire blade there. Fire blade in the shine through and in the glass eye.
Let the past die. Kylo failed you. I won't.
This is a little bit of a different pulse in the chamber. It's pulsing between several colors. Red, white, blue. When you ignite, it goes to solid blade matching, which this is a ray font. You can see you've got shine through there in the glass eye, and also the blade plug, of course. Crystal chamber matches on clash, lockup, blaster blocks, and these spool down when you deactivate the saber. Cycle to your next font, briefly press the auxiliary, which this is Luke Skywalker green, etc., which you saw from the blade demo. Now, another thing this has is SA2CC's button mod, so a long hold of auxiliary puts you into the volume menu. Auxiliary reduces volume. When you hear that tone, you're full. Another long press on auxiliary gets you out of the button menu. Ignite and reduce volume. When the saber's in idle, a long press on auxiliary gets you back in the volume menu. Then press power to increase the volume. When you hear that tone, you're at full volume. Long press of aux gets you out of volume menu. Ignite, full volume. That is it for the instruction manual on this. I hope you enjoy the saber, Tony. It's pretty awesome. I think it's better than it was with the prism. So I'm going to turn this off now with the kill key. I'm going to kill the power.
You do have a great...
There we go. And then I'm going to put the rear of the hilt back on. And that's going to be it. If you want any changes, Tony, let me know. Otherwise, this will be shipping with your KR flagship, which is almost done, ready to go to video. The saber's installed. I'm just doing a couple fine tune-ups to it, and then I'll get the video shot for it hopefully by the end of this week. but your KR flagship is also installed. So I'll be shipping you the DV6, your KR flagship, and the 2 blade plugs which were sent back to me for modification. And also both these, well, this saber has your DV6 blade plug. We haven't really discussed what you want to do with the flagship, but the flagship does have the Shtok Lit Neopixel adapter, so I might do something with that blade plug. But that's it for that saber. May the dark side be with you. Last tidbit of instruction on the DV6, Tony. Your blade retention screw is right here, and you simply insert your Allen tool and the blade plug will slide right out. Now if you'll notice, this is a normal blade plug. Of course it's longer. I put it on a longer piece of tube because that's your actual blade depth. You've got pretty good blade depth there. It's more than 2 inches. But the cool thing about this saber, which I want to show everybody, and the reason that I don't have this backlit with Neopixels, is because I've used Shtok's Lit Neopixel Connector. I don't know how well that's going to turn out on video, but that's Shtok's Neopixel Lit Connector. There's lockup, clash, blaster blocks, so I don't have to use a backlit blade plug. The connector itself has Neopixels. Now, let's talk about inserting your lightsaber blade. To insert your lightsaber blade, simply put it in, put the springs under a little bit of tension, and I'm going to show you why here in a second, and then simply tighten your blade retention screw while the springs on the connector are under tension, and boom, test it, boom, it's lit. There you see we got shine through, the blade's going. You know we put it together properly. Now on the blade plug, to insert the blade plug, we're going to simply loosen our blade retention screw, remove the blade, and we can get the blade out of the way now, and we're going to put our blade plug back into the lightsaber. And the blade plug isn't sprung because it doesn't have a Neopixel connector on it. It's just a standard blade plug. It's a cool thing about Shtok's Lit connectors. And then ignite the saber, boom, you see we got ignition, and we've got a lit blade plug, and we've got shine through on our glass eye from Shtok's Lit Neopixel connectors. That is the pretty cool ad on this one, Tony, is you've got the Shtok Lit connectors. So this is what the Shtok Lit connectors look like when you get them from Dimitri. They have pins, and on the blade end you have the target. Now your blade target will still work with this connector, the 7/8 blade I already built you. The connector, this is what's inside the hilt, this is what's on the lightsaber blade. When these make connection, those spring pins actually go under tension, so they spring down so that they hold contact with the blade. So when you put a blade into your saber, you have to make sure that you put those springs under tension and then tighten the blade retention screw while you're holding the blade against there. When you take the blade out of the saber, loosen the blade retention screw. Usually the springs will push the blade out, and then you pull the blade straight out of the saber. You don't want to twist, you don't want to jam the blade in there at an angle or anything crazy, even though it shouldn't be able to go in at an angle because it's a 7/8 inch socket. And that's the last bit of instruction on this saber. It's awesome.